Good evening, everyone. My name is Vanessa Viorta. I'm a parent, teacher, and the creator of Tutor Chest. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have a really fantastic webinar in store for you. It is called Jumpstart Your College Admission Essay, Telling Your Story. This virtual workshop, which will help creating a plan for how your story can reveal your unique qualities, is presented by Karen Livecchia. Karen is an education consultant, an academic and business content editor. She also provides one-on-one coaching and instruction for oral academic English and English for academic purposes, the EAP. Karen holds a Bachelor of Liberal Arts in Humanities with honors from Harvard University, where she was awarded the Dean's Merit Scholarship. She has a Master's of Science in Publishing from New York University. She's also a member of the 2001 National Dean's List, an honor awarded to the top 10% university students in the United States. So thank you, Karen, for sharing your time and expertise with the Tutor Chest community.
My pleasure. Thanks for that lovely introduction, Vanessa. I appreciate it. Thanks again to everyone, those who are just coming in, for spending some time on a busy Monday. And get started. Let's start the slideshow. So again, my name is Karen Livecchia. I'm an education consultant at New York Edits. This is a free webinar through tutorchest.com. Thank you again to Vanessa for asking me to host this. We'll do about maybe a 45-50-minute presentation, and then I'll open it up to questions. And I'm happy to answer any questions related to, college admission essay writing. So let's get started. Okay, so you've heard a little bit about me. I'm a Harvard graduate. I'm currently living in the New York City metropolitan area. Got the master's degree from NYU. I've been a content development editor for about 15 years. I've been an education consultant for about 4. I've taught ESL and TOEFL, speaking and writing in Seoul, South Korea, and a number of education companies in mainland China. And during the pandemic, I've been doing a lot of remote work, obviously. I work with a lot of international students living here in the US, going to both prep school, high school, and colleges and universities across the nation. So I've got quite a business here, and I will tell you that, writing, well, I was talking to another attendee here, writing on any level in this country we just need so much more of these kinds of webinars, because I think people really need guidance, particularly when we're talking about a college admissions essay to be connected with a college application. So in this webinar this evening, we're going to be talking about, what college admissions officers are looking for when evaluating an application, how to craft an essay in order to move your application forward in the process. And we're going to discuss strategies and the writing process to create unique application essays. And so let's start from the very beginning. The college admissions office. I think we all have generally an idea of what goes on in the college admissions office. When I first got to Harvard, I actually took what's called a casual job in admissions in one of the graduate schools, and it was a real eye-opener. It was one of those things that I've never really forgotten. I had really no idea how it worked beyond the door where it said admissions office. So here is what the students see. And of course, perhaps what the parents think of when they think of the college admissions office. Very professional. Here's the college admissions officer, very efficient, very organized, well-rested, extremely professional, making phone calls, tracking applications. It all looks good here. So, but I will tell you that this is really the reality. And it's really the reality as you go through the process in the admissions office. The admissions office can be kind of a back office situation. And, there are lots and lots of people, and there's a lot of action, and, the college applications come flying through the door, particularly over the transom, as we call it, and also online. And toward the end, there's all sorts of calls, hundreds and hundreds of calls to be made, and lots of things to be tracked, and reports to be generated, and applications to be sorted, And by the end of the process, this is what admissions officers can look like. So there's, there's the picture perfect view, and then of course there is the reality. So think about what it's like to be an admissions officer, whether you're a junior officer, whether you're an admin, or whether you're at the top of the food chain in terms of the admissions office personnel. It's an enormous job, to say the least. So here's what the workload looks like. I mean, when they were taking in paper applications, these photos are kind of dated, but I just wanted to include them because it shows you the sheer volume of paperwork that comes through the door every admission season, as it's called, and things are piled up and sorted, et cetera, et cetera. It can be an overwhelming thing to actually see. And you really do have to keep in mind, or it's best to keep in mind, what really happens in an admissions office. So a lot going on, tremendous amount of work, a lot of pressure. They want to put together the most well-rounded class that they can possibly put together. The talented students, they want a variety in terms of interests and majors, and also, of course, naturally diversity. All different races, colors, creeds, etc. So it's definitely a high pressure job for sure. So the admissions committee, this is basically what it looks like. It's a horseshoe kind of situation in a great big conference room, and everybody's got their laptops plugged in, and reports and all sorts of spreadsheets. And basically the admissions committee is the final arbiter. They take a vote on who's going to get in and who's going to be shut out. So yeah, it's definitely a group effort, top to bottom, from admin all the way up to the top of the food chain. You want to make sure that you've got yourself together before you put your application together, before you assemble it, because you don't want to end up here. You don't want to end up down here for sure with the red X for your application. Okay, so let's talk about the college application essay. So we've had a good look. We know what's going on in the admissions office, and we're gonna be talking about. Now there may be some things here that you already know. Okay, if you don't know them, this is great. I'm happy to pass along new information. What you may already know is that admissions officers, known as AOs, do a holistic evaluation of one's application. They're looking at it component by component. They're not just looking at the GPA. There's a myth out there that continues, to hold weight somehow. And I don't know exactly why this is, but it's a real myth. It's not about the GPA. It's not all about the GPA. It's about the whole application, the application as a whole. Think of the different components of your application as tools, right? Your college application is a toolbox. Think of the application, the essay, the references, the interview if that's required, the transcripts, anything else. Think of them as tools in your toolbox. And you are going out to apply for college, and you want all of the tools working in your favor. Okay, so again, not all about the GPA. I think that myth hangs on, just like the way I sometimes do resume work, and people are squeezing themselves into a one-page resume, and that's one of those myths that continues to hang on. So yeah, I wish that would go away. Here's what you really need to know. In the applications process, applications come flying through the door, and after a while, they can really look the same. For whatever reason, it really starts to be a blur for the admissions officers. What they're looking for is to welcome students not just to the campus, right? Opening up the gates at Harvard or Stanford or the University of Illinois or wherever, but they are looking for welcoming people to the university community as a whole. as a whole. It's not just about filling seats, although that's important. It's not just about collecting tuition payments. They're really building a university community, a rich, diverse university community as a whole. Okay, so in order to do that, what they want to know from students is, how are you going to contribute to the college community? And by contribute, I don't mean dollars, although that's certainly a nice thing to do. But how are you going to contribute? What kind of talents and abilities and energy and drive and focus are you going to bring to the college community? How are you going to be in the mix among your classmates? How are you going to be really a part of things? You don't want to be that kid that's just in the study lounge or in the library back in the corner. Okay, it's all about creating community. That's what's really, really important on college campuses, right? And then, of course, they're planning for the future. Admissions officers are always planning for the future. They're always thinking in year-long blocks and four-year blocks and decades, et cetera. They also want to know how their graduates are going to contribute to the alumni community, right? Not just dollars, although that's important too, but how they're going to do things like I'm doing here, webinars, coaching other students, mentoring other students. How are you going to be active in the alumni community? Because you just don't want to graduate and then drop off the map. It's fine to go off and live your life, but really, you should definitely be part of the alumni community in some way, shape, or form. And that's what the admissions officers are also looking for. Okay, so that's really, really important to know. And yeah, again, this might be a double slide here. Sorry about that. Okay, so I tell students, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of students, I think in this, my tenure as an education consultant, as a content development editor. You don't need to stress. However, what you do need to do is plan, strategize, and execute, right? You need to have a plan, not just a plan where I'm going to apply to these 6 colleges or these 10 colleges, or I have my A plan with my sure schools, and then I have like my safety schools on my B list. That's an overarching plan. But really, when you get right down to it, you need to plan every single application for every single school, okay? You need to strategize, okay? You need to know the timeline, the deadlines, the benchmarks that you need to hit. You also, and we will see this in just a little while, you need to strategize the admissions essay, the application essay, and then you need to execute on that, because you're going to be on a gigantic timeline. And of course, I'm speaking to the students out here in the audience. You're going to have a lot of other things going on. You'll have classes and activities, and you'll be doing some sort of, I'm hoping, some sort of community involvement, some sort of volunteer projects. You're trying to put yourself out there as a well-rounded students, and that's exactly what colleges and universities are looking for. They're not looking for the study hound, just not somebody who's all about, I'm making the A's, I'm trying to be the perfect student. They're looking for the well-rounded student. Okay, so let's get to it. Creating an effective essay. I'm going to show you, there's going to be a lot of information here. I meant to say that I'm going to have a Q&A toward the end of this session. I don't know if we'll go for the whole 90 minutes because I know that everybody is busy. And I hope I'm not moving too quickly, but I do know that everybody here is busy. I do have 2 top tips. My top tip number 1, start early. Now that sounds kind of obvious as a top tip, but it's true. I get so many students, I sometimes get panicked parents. My kid is a procrastinator. What should we do? And if you don't start early enough, you could have a really poor showing in terms of the essay. Last minute essays, people can see what they are, right? They're always seen as a poor attempt. It works against you in the end. really put the time in, start early, okay? A lot of students, whether they be students in mainland China or here in the US, a lot of students think they can bang out a really good essay, 1 to 2 drafts. I will tell you, this is very, very true. The best essays I've handled are the ones that took 8 or more drafts to go final. It doesn't always take 8 or more. Sometimes it takes somewhere between 4 and 6, but you should aim for somewhere between 6 and 8. And I know that that sounds really, really harsh, but it's true. Writing is a process. Any kind of writing is a process. So think in terms of stages, think in terms of drafts, okay? Going back to that draft and really working your ideas and really polishing it. So starting early is key. Tip number 2, it's all about your voice. It's about your voice, okay? Colleges know if it's been written by your parent or an older student or an adult, or if you use one of those awful essay writing services. They're out there on the internet. I know it. I've been approached by some. I would just never do anything like that, because what I want from my own clients and when I work through client companies is I want to show students that writing in your own voice is the best way to go, the best way to go. You want to write about a real experience. You want to have authenticity, not just a sense of being authentic, but being really authentic. And you can tell on the page if writers are not being authentic. Okay. So when I talk about writing about a real experience, you know, not much has happened to young people at age 17 or 18, but there's got to be something out there. You must have had a real experience or some sort of scenario where it made you change your beliefs, or you thought about changing your beliefs. You had to take action on something, a situation that made you think more deeply, really, really be reflective. It's really interesting to read essays that are deeply reflective, not just essays that boast about all sorts of achievements. It's great to be an achiever. I think of myself as an achiever, but really the most unique essays, the most interesting essays to read are ones that are in a truly authentic voice and really take those ideas, really, really work on it, be reflective, take it to the next level in terms of the writing. So again, there's no faking it. That's basically what I'm saying here about using your own voice. All right, so again, this may seem like common sense, but it's really, really important for students to remember. You have to have a plan for your essay. Please do not wing it. Do not wing it. I can tell when, I can tell when essays are just flung onto the page. It doesn't do anything for me, and it's certainly not going to do anything for the student. You have to strategize, you have to plan, and you have to organize. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about that. Now, I often get questions from students, oh, I'm a creative writer, or, oh, I don't know how to be creative. It's what we're looking for here is a nice middle road. This is no time to go like stream of consciousness, and it's no time to be sort of writing in a very rote manner, okay? We want to have a nice middle ground here to create a unique and compelling essay. However, I will tell the students that err more on the creative side, this is no time to be a super creative. It's got to be within the standard rules of an essay. A beginning, a middle, and an end. It's got to have good organized flow throughout. Okay. All right. So here's what admissions officers are looking for in a candidate. They are looking for a complete package, okay? They are looking for somebody who's strong in academics and community interest in volunteering and in their own, personal interests, possibly sports, performing arts, right? They're looking for the complete package. Again, they're not looking for the study hound. So what you need to do is show them, particularly in the essay, not just tell them all, like just a laundry list or a grocery list of all your achievements. You have to be able to demonstrate in the essay your hard work, your humor, your persistence, your motivation, your patience in getting something done, the challenges that you faced, how you've overcome something. What they want, what the AOs want are specific examples so you can make so they can make an informed decision about you as a serious candidate. Because when that crush of applications comes through the door, they know that not everybody is going to get a serious look through, right? So basically they go in phases. You know, somebody who's missing something gets put aside. And then somebody who looks like they could go into the A pile but ends up in the B pile. And it goes on and on and on like that. Ultimately, what they're trying to do is comb through an enormous amount of applications so they can make the best decision about building a strong, diverse class, not just for the college community, but for the future. Okay. So let's get started. Okay, now I have a very basic Zoom account here. So they only give us 40 minutes if there's more than, 2 people in it. So I may have to stop, and then unfortunately we have to go back in to the meeting. So I'm sorry if that seems odd, but that's what happens when you have a basic Zoom account, and there's a lot of people here tonight. Again, thanks for joining. All right, so let's get started. Let's move forward. Again, sounds like common sense, but there are so many students who do not read the essay question carefully. Please, before you sit down and write and you think you're going to bang out a first draft by just taking a quick look at the essay question, read it carefully. You must answer the question that's being asked. No exceptions. Do not think that you are going to be some exception to the overall rule. That's just not acceptable. Okay. Exactly what's being asked of you. Do you know exactly what's being asked of you in the question? Okay, so this is really, really important. This is important for international students for whom English is not their first language. Okay, so be sure you know what's being asked of you. Super, super important. Okay. Now, as I said before, it's about telling your story. That's true. But what you must do is tell a coherent story. Okay, a coherent story. And it has to be a coherent story in the essay, but it also has to be part of your larger package, right? The entire application must tell a story, a coherent story. All right. Here's a good rule of thumb about the essay. A good story that addresses the question being asked way better than a great story that misses the mark, right? It goes back to understanding what's being asked of you in the admissions essay, in the application essay, okay? Good story, question being asked, much better than a great story that just misses the boat completely, all right? Please keep that in mind, that's really important. Okay, some things to keep in mind. Your essay has to work in harmony with the other aspects of your application. I mentioned that just a moment ago. Okay. Yeah, please jump back and rejoin the webinar once it ends, and it'll end in about 5 minutes or so. Again, my apologies, I have a basic Zoom account. So I hope you folks will come back in and rejoin. Okay, so again, the admissions officers are looking at applications holistically. They're looking for all the application pieces to work in harmony with one another, okay? They want to know how your story fits into the features of your overall application. I've seen so many essays by students that say they want to be a doctor, okay? Oh, by the way, if you guys would mute yourself, that would be helpful. I appreciate that. If you would mute yourself, if there's background noise, thanks. Yeah, I've seen a lot of essays where, you know, I look at the other pieces of the application. Somebody wants to be a doctor, and then their essay is about, you know, their interest in modern dance, right? Yeah, it's okay to do that, but it's so much better to think of your essay holistically. And also think about your application holistically, because that's exactly what the admissions officers are going to be doing. All right. So this is a super important point here. You need to tailor your story to show how you are the best match. Okay. You're going to be competing, especially at the top schools, the top 25 or top 30 schools. But, you know, all of the schools are very, very competitive. And you're going to have to show them, not just tell them that you're a great candidate for admission, but show them why you are the best match. Okay, let's move on. So it's important to have a central passion. Okay, it's the key to standing out, both in the essay and in your application as a whole. You got to figure out what your passion is. Not just that you love studying mathematics, that's great, but as a person. Maybe you love studying mathematics, but you're a fantastic tutor. Maybe you're tutoring underprivileged kids in a low-income neighborhood. Maybe you've created your own tutoring center in your community. Maybe you're known as a go-to in your school to help lift other students in terms of their math skills. Okay, so it's great to have a central passion, but really it's got to work also with you as a person. Again, don't just tell what your passion is, show them what your passion is, how you've gone ahead and, you know, that central passion is the thing that drives you. Okay. Central passion, always helpful in an application. It's a lot better than what I call the scattered list. You know, oh, I did this and I did this and I did this. Right? A lot of people think, oh, that I'm showing how to be a well-rounded candidate. Really, you've got to have focus, and the central passion is key here. Again, a unified theme to an application is always going to be much more memorable than one that has a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Okay. All right, so here's what I'm going to do at this point, because we've got less than a minute. I'm going to stop the share, and it's going to kick us out of the webinar. So again, before we get bumped out of the webinar here, I will come back in, and then I'll continue with things, and then I'll have a Q&A at the end. I'll open up the chat. Feel free to ask me anything about, you know, jumpstarting an essay, et cetera, et cetera. So, all right.